So in the last video, we took apart most of the CNC machine. You can see a really fast version of that video on the screen now. But basically, we took apart all the components of the machine and put on the two new side plates that hold the y-axis up and attach to the x-axis carriage blocks. Now in this video, we are going to finish taking stuff apart, but more so we're going to do a lot of the more minor but still really important changes, like adding Loctite to each screw on the linear rails so that they can't vibrate loose and then cause a jam because the machine can't go past that spot. Additionally, we're going to just do a lot of the preparation for the biggest changes and make the actual biggest change, but would turn out to be the biggest pain of a change because I messed up. But you'll find out more about that later. Actually, I'm going to go with taking off the, I don't remember what they were for anymore, the belt tensioner pieces that were actually mounted to the frame. And then I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take this off, and it's dusty. Okay, so I'm going to take this off and put Loctite on all these bolts and put them back in. And then I'm going to put this one back on for now. And then I'm going to go to this one and deal with putting in the lead screw nuts. Because I want to wait to put the limit switch on until I have the printed piece on, because it'll be easier to figure out exactly how far it should be going. And 3 belts done, just because I grabbed that. That one's been done. Once I removed all the parts for the belts, I took out the top arm of the gantry so that I could remove each bolt and get Loctite on it. You see me struggling with the Allen wrench sets. I was looking for the right size in an Allen wrench that's not the T style, but turns out I need a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, and I don't have that in the sort of screwdriver fashion. Now the process for putting Loctite in each bolt was simply remove one bolt, put Loctite on it, and put it right back in. That way I don't really have to worry about the linear rail shifting at all. I can just remove one, put it back in immediately. And I only show you this once, but I also do this for every single other bolt in the linear rails. Alrighty, I'm going to go check the dimensions where holes for these guys need to be, and then I'll be back and we'll drill it out. Alright, I got my caliper set to the distance it should be. Yep, that looks about right. Yep, I think that's correct. Like that. Looks like I'm gonna take this guy out. Doesn't quite barely fit. I might try doing a little surgery on this piece, otherwise I'll just print a new one. But yeah, I think I'm ready to give those a punch and then get the drill press set up. Now these guys need to be at least 3/4 of an inch, and definitely a little bit more, but I'm trying to minimize how much more. so we'll see how I can do. But let's go to the drill press. Now, I can't fit this guy onto this plate, so, like upside down, because I need to drill out these holes, there and there, but I can't put it on the plate like this, because there's a linear rail, and I need this to be a properly sized hole. So that's it for the drill press, hopefully for this video actually, but we'll see. Just gonna deburr these and they're ready to get their 3 holes for the flanges. At this point, I removed the end stop that I had for the carriage blocks because it's interfering with the flange nut, and then I mark the center of the metal piece so that I can line up the hole on the flange with the line so I know it's in the center of the bar, and I just match drill it to make my life easier. Now this is one of the trickiest parts of this rebuild, and it's also very fruitless, but I'll talk about that more later as I already hinted to. But I basically need to install a nut on the bottom of this first bolt that's closest to the linear rail, but I also have to go around the inner part of the flange nut, so it's very tricky to actually get the nut on and make sure it stays on and actually tightens. So that took me like 8 minutes just to do that part. And then after that I put on the other bolts, but one of them couldn't get a nut just because it's too close to the edge of the bar, so I just threaded that hole. That is one. I got very confused because a nut fell out, but 2 nuts I put in are still there, so don't know where that one came from. And then just rinse and repeat for the other side. This one went just slightly quicker because I already knew the best method to put in the bolts. So both sides have one screw that's more just there to A, make it look good, and B, add just a little bit more strength. But they both also have 2 screws with a nut behind it, so there's quite a bit of strength. Alright, so I'm trying to look at the backs to see how well. Okay, I can pull that off. I can definitely pull that off. So we're looking good. So next, it's put this thing on and hard mount it actually, because we'll need to adjust that, but I can screw that on anytime. Just this, I mean. But yeah, it's time to put this thing back on. We pulled it off. That fits, and they're in about the right spot. So you can put them on. So this is where I make a mistake that, while I notice it early enough to catch it this time, I also make it again later, which really sucks. But basically I've flipped the bottom rail compared to the top rail. I need to have the space with the larger gap on the same side. So you notice the 2 end stops on the left are in different places. If I had the rails flipped, they'd be in the right spots. But this issue really just underscores the difficulty of an asymmetric design, because if they were symmetric, I wouldn't have this problem, and I also wouldn't have to take off the end stop on the other side. Okay, they both move together. I think I'm going to put this back on quick, so it's not hanging down anymore. Beauty. Do I need to do anything with this element switch? Ah, crap. That's annoying. Oh wait. Hear me out. It doesn't matter what side this is on anymore because, whoops. This piece has turned into this piece. And this spacing was left for this, which really no longer exists, and this is the exact same dimensions otherwise, except for the thickness. So I'm just going to flip the top. Otherwise, I do think I'm done. I think we'll put on these pieces. Well, not those motors, because then I have one axis completed, and then we'll move on to this axis. From there. So to start out, I'm going to grab a lead screw. This is about when I realized that I really messed up. I had purchased a precision lead screw, and I had purchased an ultra precision lead screw nut, which, to what I didn't understand, was a different thing. The threading's different, so the lead screw doesn't work with these lead screw nuts. So I did all that work and installed them for no reason, which meant I'm going to have to take them out, which is the biggest pain of this project probably. And I also then after this took a really long break because robotic season started up, and so I did that for most of my time. But I also needed to figure out the right piece to purchase, and I took my sweet time with that to make sure I actually bought the right one this time.